Right now on Good Morning America First Look, a deal is reached in the Senate that could pave the way to end the government shutdown. Do Democrats give in? Plus, word overnight of more pardons from President Trump, including Rudy Giuliani.
A messy morning commute, winter arriving early for millions of Americans, snowfall rates of 3 inches per hour, and frigid air extending into the deep south.
Developing right now, dozens injured as a bus returning from a camp overturns in Southern California.
Plus, what we're learning about the latest gambling scandal rocking pro sports, this time in Major League Baseball.
You've heard of 30-year mortgages, but what about 50-year mortgages? Could they jumpstart the housing market?
New research on coffee and its effect on the heart.
Later, President Trump enters the broadcast booth during an NFL game.
And the mystery man in this photo after the jewelry heist at the Louvre is finally revealed, and he's got quite a story.
From ABC News, this is Good Morning America First Look.
Good Monday morning, everyone. I'm Sophie Flay.
And I'm Victor Okendo. We begin with the breaking news overnight. The Senate taking a major step toward reopening the government.
Enough Democrats flipped their vote to pass a bill to fund the government, but they're walking away without their key demand on health insurance. Meanwhile, because the government is still shut down this morning, the legal battle over funding SNAP food benefits, as will the cancellations of flights across the country because of a shortage of air traffic controllers. Here's ABC's Alison Kosik.
This morning, an end is finally in sight after the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. In a late-night Sunday session on Capitol Hill, just enough Democrats voted to advance a Republican bill that would extend funding for the government through the end of January.
Well, we did not get our key demand. We got a bunch of other things in there.
These 8 senators breaking with their party to vote for the compromise, which does not include Democrats' key demand to extend Obamacare subsidies and prevent premiums from skyrocketing, the very demand that led to the government shutdown in the first place. Instead, Republicans are only promising a future vote on health care sometime next month. ABC's Rachel Scott questioned senators after the vote.
So how do you explain, though, to your constituents why it was worth it to put up this fight for so long when in the end you did not get your key demand?
Because it wasn't working. How long would it take to not get a response, to say it isn't working? In other words, it's been 6 weeks. There's been the Republicans made it clear they weren't going to discuss the health care issue, the Affordable Care Act tax credits, until the shutdown was over.
Last night's deal does not mean the government is open. Senators still have to finalize the bill, and the House still needs to approve it, a process that could take days.
It's hard to try to depend on other people to help you.
But the deal now provides imminent relief for the millions of people on SNAP food assistance going without benefits, and for air travelers dealing with thousands of flight cancellations because of unpaid air traffic controllers calling out sick. The Senate bill would also reverse firings made by the administration during the shutdown and provide back pay to furloughed workers. Still, some Democrats are frustrated that their party may have backed down too soon.
I voted no just because I'm so pissed off. I'm just frustrated.
Others say Democrats made progress by securing a vote on health care in the coming weeks to put Republicans on the record. Former Democratic Senator Heidi Heitkamp says compromise won the day after a grueling 40-day shutdown that also put pressure on the White House.
The president was unwilling to engage in negotiation at all. So I think that they demonstrated that his unwillingness to engage in negotiation, to actually have a conversation about health care, have a conversation about food security, tells the public what they need to know, that this is not someone who's on their side.
President Trump is now proposing Americans receive direct payments to buy health insurance coverage themselves rather than sending funds to insurance companies through Obamacare. Critics worry that could allow insurance companies to once again deny coverage to people with pre-existing conditions. Sophie, Victor?
Allison, thank you. President Trump has issued a new round of pardons clearing top allies accused of trying to overturn the 2020 election. On the list, Rudy Giuliani and former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. He also pardoned attorneys Sidney Powell, John Eastman, and more than 70 others linked to efforts challenging the election results.
The other big story this morning, winter arriving early for millions of Americans.
This morning, a wintry weather whiteout across the Midwest as lake-effect snow sweeps cities from Grand Rapids to Burlington. Some areas bracing for up to 3 inches of snowfall per hour.
Oh my God, it's just come out of nowhere.
In Chicago, plows and salt trucks in the streets as the city braces for up to a foot of snow. Dozens of school districts in the area closed or delayed today.
I'm not ready for it. I think it's a little too early.
In South Bend, Indiana, the first snowfall coming weeks earlier than last year. Notre Dame facing sloppy conditions on the field this weekend, taking on Navy in what looked like a snow globe.
49-10.
Similar snowy scenes in Iowa and Nebraska. It comes as an Arctic blast brings dangerously cold temperatures to the south. Freeze alerts issued in 11 states as temperatures plummet from Dallas to Savannah.
Several Gulf Coast cities see the potential for record lows. We're talking near the freezing mark in places like Baton Rouge and Jacksonville.
In Atlanta, authorities opening warming centers. The wind chill expected to bring feel-like temps down to 18 degrees. That cold front also whipping up powerful winds in parts of Texas, triggering red flag fire warnings.
And we'll check your forecast in just a few moments.
Dozens of people have been injured after a bus crash in Southern California. It happened on Highway 330 near Running Springs in the mountains east of Los Angeles. Police say 20 people were taken to hospitals, at least 3 of them with serious injuries. The bus was carrying teens and adults from a camp back to Orange County.
The U.S. immigration crackdown is triggering more clashes in Chicago. Agents deployed tear gas and flashbang grenades facing off with protesters. Officials say agents were trying to control the crowd after a driver fired a gun at them. At least 2 Border Patrol vehicles were damaged. Some people in the crowd also reportedly threw bricks. Meanwhile, a family says agents pepper sprayed them in their car with their baby inside. They had to wash out her eyes.
Now to the new gambling scandal in Major League Baseball. 2 players accused in a case that is once again undermining the trust fans have in pro sports. This morning, a new betting scandal rocking pro sports. Prosecutors say Cleveland Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase and starter Luis Ortiz tipped off gamblers about the pitches they would throw.
These pitchers allegedly worked with some bettors that in the Dominican Republic, and they tipped them off about what kind of pitches they were going to throw, whether it would be a ball or a strike, and what the velocity would be.
Prosecutors say in June 2023, a bettor won $58,000 after Clase tipped them off about a pitch. And in the middle of a game this past May, the indictment claims Clase texted a bettor asking if they were ready. 10 minutes later, the bettor won $10,000 after wagering on a pitch. Prosecutors say Clase recruited Luis Ortiz into the scheme this year. Ortiz, before June's start against the Mariners, allegedly agreed to throw a ball, not a strike, for his first pitch of the second inning.
First pitch missing, low, ball 1.
2 weeks later, Ortiz allegedly agreed to throw a ball in the third inning against the Cardinals.
Is just a little bit outside.
Prosecutors say gamblers won at least $450,000 wagering on both men's pitches, and the 2 were given kickbacks. They now face wire fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering charges, which could mean decades in prison if convicted. Major League Baseball and the Guardians say they're cooperating with investigators.
What I would like to see is for Major League Baseball to step up and try to work with some of these gambling companies to say there are prop bets that we're fine with, but there are prop bets that present too much of a threat to the integrity of the sport.
Officials say this scheme is not related to recent gambling scandals in the NBA and college basketball involving current and former players and even a coach. Just this past Friday, the NCAA announcing 6 former players allegedly rigged games and shared information with known bettors. A lawyer for Luis Ortiz denies the charges. Emmanuel Clase was reportedly out of the country.
Time now for your Monday weather.
Good morning. The big weather story today, the Arctic blast that'll extend from the Great Lakes all the way down to the Gulf Coast. We're talking high temperatures today in the 30s, Chicago, Louisville. Highs only in the middle 40s in a place like Montgomery, Alabama. And we have freeze watches and warnings all the way down to the Gulf Coast overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning when we could be breaking record lows in places like Baton Rouge getting down to freezing, maybe Jacksonville, Florida as well. With that cold air moving across the warmer lake waters, snowfall could be heavy. Chicago, South Bend, also Cleveland, over toward Erie. Meteorologist Jeff Smith, ABC News.
Coming up, new research on coffee and its effect on the heart.
But first, forget 30-year mortgages. How about 50-year mortgages? The new proposal.
And how the grounding of planes like the one that crashed in Kentucky last week could delay holiday shipping.
We're back with the driver racing down this highway in Tampa early Saturday. An officer trying a pit maneuver to stop him, but the driver getting away. Moments later, police say the 22-year-old lost control, slamming into a bar patio, killing 4 people. The driver is now in custody.
The FAA has grounded MD-11 planes like that UPS plane that crashed in Kentucky last week, killing 14 people. They're grounded pending further inspections. MD-11s are only a small part of the UPS and FedEx fleet, but experts say if they're grounded for several weeks, it could delay deliveries this holiday season.
Now to the housing market and a controversial plan to lower costs for first-time homebuyers. But critics say a proposal to allow 50-year mortgages will cost more in the long run. Here's ABC's Nicole D'Antonio.
This morning, new backlash as the Trump administration moves forward with a plan to introduce 50-year mortgages.
It looks to be like the president's looking for a quick fix to a market that is fundamentally broken right now.
Over the weekend, Trump sharing this image comparing the proposal to the 30-year mortgage policies championed by FDR nearly a century ago. The move could potentially kickstart the now stagnant real estate market. Homes are currently seeing the lowest turnover rate in 30 years, and the median age of first-time home buyers just hit an all-time high of 40 years old.
It's really difficult to see right now for younger borrowers how they are going to be able to afford a home.
A longer fixed-rate mortgage would lower monthly payments, but would also create a higher total cost because of all that interest over 5 decades. Take a $400,000 loan at 6% interest. Under a 30-year mortgage, the monthly payment would be just shy of $2,400. Under a 50-year loan, it drops to just over $2,100, a savings of nearly $300 a month. But over time, that savings is erased by a much larger interest bill, because while the total interest on a 30-year loan would be about $463,000, the interest on a 50-year loan would total more than $860,000. Many, including longtime allies of President Trump, are not on board with the idea. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, quote, "It will ultimately reward the banks, mortgage lenders, and home builders, while people pay far more in interest over time and die before they ever pay off their home, in debt forever, in debt for life." And some experts warn the proposal would drive up prices.
And the White House has not yet explained how it would get around the Dodd-Frank Act, which effectively bans mortgages longer than 30 years. Sophie.
Nicole, thank you. Coming up, the urgent baby formula recall.
Also ahead, a famous song renews interest in a Great Lakes tragedy 50 years ago today. We're back with 2 passings in the world of sports. Hall of Fame basketball player and coach Lenny Wilkens has died. He won more than 1,300 games during his coaching career. Wilkens was 88. And Paul Tagliabue, who served 17 seasons as NFL commissioner, overseeing years of tremendous growth, has died. He was 84.
An urgent recall of baby formula this morning. ByHeart is recalling 2 lots of its whole nutrition infant formula after more than a dozen infants in 10 states were hospitalized with infant botulism. The FDA is investigating how the formula was contaminated. A new study finds coffee may provide benefits to people with AFib, a condition where patients suffer irregular heartbeats. It was only a small study and more research is needed, but researchers found caffeine provided some protections. As always, discuss any diet changes with your doctor.
Now to Michigan, where mourners will pay tribute today to one of the most famous maritime tragedies in modern history, the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald. From church services to lighthouse displays, people across the Great Lakes are marking the anniversary of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, a massive cargo ship that went down on Lake Superior 50 years ago today.
It's become part of the Great Lakes culture, a tragedy that we'd probably put in the same category as the Titanic.
A surprise storm catching the crew off guard. 15-foot waves and gale force winds battering the 729-foot cargo ship before knocking out radar and dragging her into the depths. 29 sailors were killed as thousands of tons of iron ore aboard the ship settled on the lake bed.
The general thought was, how could that happen? Because after all, it's just the Great Lakes.
The wreck stunning locals who had watched the so-called Big Fitz ferry shipments across the lake for years.
It was a grim day. When I got home from school, I heard that the Edmund Fitzgerald was sinking, or had sank, and it was pretty frightening.
A year after the sinking, a folk song recounting the tragedy cemented the ship's place in history.
Later that night when his lights went out of sight, came the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Gordon Lightfoot turning the tale of the ship into legend with The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, a song that re-emerged in recent years on social media, educating a new generation about what happened on November 10th, 1975.
The church bell chimed and the rain train tanks each man on the Edmund Fitzgerald.
29 sailors died, but memorials now add a 30th ring of the bells for Gordon Lightfoot, who died in 2023.
Coming up, the stunning football play that caused the announcer to lose his voice.
Plus, the mystery man in this photo after the jewelry heist at the Louvre. You've probably seen it before. He's finally revealed.
Time to check the pulse, and we begin with a mystery revealed at the Louvre in Paris.
Turns out that Fedora Man is just a boy. This photo, taken the day of the jewelry heist, has baffled the internet, some even speculating it was generated by AI.
I thought so, but a 15-year-old named Pedro has finally come forward.
15.
He says he happened to be going to the Louvre with his mom at the same time of the heist. Pedro says he dresses like that every day because he likes to be chic. Next, President Trump is now the third sitting president to attend a regular season NFL game.
The president getting a mixed reaction from fans before a ceremony for the veterans at the Lions-Commanders game. Air Force One flying over the stadium with Trump on board, and then once inside the stadium, he visited the broadcast booth.
Here we go. Second and 7.
You're right, 2nd and 7. Let's see what happens. Whoa.
That's
all right.
Krosky Merritt.
Not bad. Forget about the play. They have to get a touchdown.
So you've done my job, now you've done his job.
The Commanders are moving to a new stadium. ESPN reports Trump wants the stadium named after him. Next, an epic ending and an epic call in college football.
This was Indiana's winning touchdown against Penn State. Take a listen.
Mendoza in trouble. It's out. Touchdown. Wow. Omar Cooper. Unbelievable.
That's Gus Johnson losing
losing
his voice and his mind as Indiana won 27-24. And finally, a sea lion showing everyone who's boss.
This big guy decided to take a rest on this yacht in Newport Beach, California. Look at that. No one was scaring him into moving. Listen to that. By the way, he only moved on his own terms.
Top headlines next. Checking more top stories, the Senate has advanced a bill to reopen the government after 8 Democrats crossed party lines. The deal does not include their key demand to extend Obamacare subsidies, only a promise to vote on the issue. It could take days for the deal to be finalized, so the government remains closed today. Also overnight, President Trump pardoned Rudy Giuliani and more than 70 others accused of trying to overturn the 2020 election.
President Trump is promising to pay most Americans a dividend of up to $2,000 per person. He claims the money will come from tariff revenue. The Treasury Secretary says the dividend could come in the form of a future tax cut.
In the UK, the head of the BBC and its news division chief have resigned. It follows criticism over how President Trump's speech on January 6th was edited for a documentary.
Today's weather, up to a foot of lake-effect snow in parts of the Midwest. Some Chicago area schools are closed, and record cold for much of the East by tomorrow.
And finally, dogs are considered man's best friend.
But this dog is also a lifesaver. Here's Danny New.
When Marine and U.S. Army veteran Hank Ford enters a room, his service dog, Tommy, can usually help him relax from old habits.
It used to be I'd walk into a place and I'm looking for exits. I'm watching everybody. I'm just not trusting anything that's going on. And with him, all that seems to have gone away.
However, the Colorado native might only be alive today because of something Tommy did earlier this year when Hank was not even awake.
That morning, I guess I wasn't getting up, and he just went into a panic.
Hank received Tommy 2 years ago from a nonprofit called Dogs, Inc., and usually, as he was trained to do, Tommy wakes him up every day around 7 a.m. But this one morning in February, the now 3-year-old yellow lab woke Hank up way earlier and almost seemed to be trying to tell him exactly why.
He was hitting me in the chest. He wasn't coming up to my face. He was literally hitting me in the chest.
That's
so.
That's so wild.
Feeling kind of off, Hank then drove himself to the hospital only to find out he was in what's called AFib with an irregular rapid heartbeat. As the doctor put it, if Tommy did not start barking and pulling on him,
you probably wouldn't have woken up or you would have had a massive stroke.
Staying overnight, Hank would eventually undergo shock treatment in the morning. But before that, guess who would not leave his side?
He just laid there with his nose looking right at me and just stared at me for hours.
9 months later, after also undergoing a cardiac ablation and going on medication, Hank says he is feeling way better now.
All right, Tommy.
These days, Tommy rides shotgun while Hank works his part-time job as a golf course marshal.
It's my golf ball, Tommy.
And will use that very impressive nose to help Dad find golf balls or whatever else he may need.
Again, guys, that organization is called Dogs, Inc. And in addition to providing service dogs to veterans, they also provide guide dogs to people with visual impairments.
Incredible story. Danny, thank you. And that is your Good Morning America First Look.
Have a great day.